Hello and welcome to day 9 of 30 days of Photoshop with me, Kevin Aronson from the Hampshire School of Photography. We're going to be cutting out people from their backgrounds and putting other backgrounds behind them, which is something I know a lot of photographers do. And before we start, I just wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, I think there's a general misunderstanding about what Photoshop is capable of. You can't just take a picture of anybody with any kind of background and chop them out easily. Photoshop likes a nice, clean background, preferably in one colour. And if you take a picture of someone against a woodland background, for instance, with some trees and flowers and leaves, it will hate that and do a pretty rough job, very difficult job of cutting the person out from there. So if you're thinking, if it's your plan to actually do a cutout of that person, don't photograph them with that kind of background. Plain colour, nice and simple, make it easy for yourself. The other thing is, if you're like me and you're outdoors and you're taking a portrait of someone, I certainly tend to use a big wide aperture to give myself a narrow depth of field, which means I get a lovely soft background behind the person I'm photographing. And if you've got a lens which opens up wide enough to give you a nice sharp front of face, but as you go back through the head it gets softer and softer and softer until the background is really blurred at the back, you quite often end up with hair which is soft, it's out of focus. So the eyes and the nose are being focused, but the back of the head, the hair at the back, have gone soft, and that also is really hard to cut out. So if you're taking pictures, mindful that you will likely be cutting them out, use a tiny aperture which gives you a big depth of field to ensure the hair and all parts of the head are actually going to be sharp and thereby easy to cut out. Having said all that, let's look at today's photo. So this is a picture of Linda, my wife, which we took in the studio at the training centre, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, something like that. So this is a plain background, quite easy to cut out from, and I'm going to show you 2 methods. The first one's very easy. I think the second one potentially is the most complicated, but Photoshop have got so good at it now, it's actually easier. So the way that most people used to do it was with something called the background eraser tool. And that's because it's all about erasing the background behind the person you just photographed. So if I click on that, and what I have to do next is sample the background colour. So if you've got a background where the colour changes, you would have to resample this or use the setting up here of continuous sampling. I'm picking the middle setting here, which is sampling once, because the background is just black, so I only need to sample once. And to sample, I hit the Option key in a Mac. On a PC it would be the Alt key. Once you press it, you get that little ink dropper thing, paint dropper, and if I click that on the black, it's now sampled that colour. And Photoshop now knows that if I paint over that colour, it erases it. Watch. And there you can see the background coming through. Just painting over it. Isn't that good? So it won't erase a shirt or a skin because they are not black. If they were, then we'd start losing it. And of course it means that all the hair, which is quite bright on this shot because there are a couple of lights illuminating her from behind, all the little fronds, those little hair fronds sticking up, are very bright indeed. And of course, as they are very bright, I would then want to put this picture of Linda against a dark background, which is what I have done here. This sunset is quite dark. And I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. There's no point. You understand what's happened here. If we had her against a bright background, then this kind of goes on and it looks weird. If I zoom in on that, you see where those hairs have been cut out? They look really odd against a bright background, but against a dark background, they're perfectly acceptable. So you have to choose your backgrounds to suit the hair, if that makes sense. Let's zoom back out. Right, so that is non-destructive. Sorry, that is destructive editing. I can't make any changes now. I can press undo, go back that way, but I can't make any changes. Just here, for some reason, it decided to go over the shoulder, and it's painted on the top of the top. I can't do anything I can't do anything to correct that apart from undoing the image. And of course, there was one problem, you see, because I did everything in a single take. If I did it in multiple takes, so if I did one take like that, and then another take started from scratch from here, and then another take down here, look, done it again. But because I've done it in different takes, when I press undo, all it's going to do is undo this bit, and I still have another option. And I can change my threshold here, and it might well be that my threshold was too low. There we go. See, it needs a different threshold. And again, start another set there. And another one there. Slowing down a bit now. Trying to do too much too quickly. Go back to here. You see, if I've gone at a threshold which was, I was on 20, let's go to 43. That should go right across her top. Look at that. It's all about sensitivity, so I'll undo that. Command or Control Z. And take that back down to 10. Or thereabouts. There we go. So that was easy, wasn't it? That was easy. Okay. Let's just move that out of the way, and we'll bring up another copy of Linda to work with. You're going to love this. So assuming you're using a relatively recent copy of Photoshop, not an old CS5 or CS6 going back sort of 10, 15 years, as soon as you select one of these brushes up here, so the quick selection tool or the magic wand tool, which we were looking at yesterday, once you do that, you get these two buttons appear, select subject and select a mask. You can choose to ignore them, and I would, in this case, maybe choose the quick selection tool, and I would paint it over Linda, and it would select her for me. So I'm dragging it across. My mouse is not leaving the mouse pad or my Wacom tablet. I've gone over her head, so I'm just going to get rid of that by hitting the Option key on a Mac or Alt on a PC, and it kind of removes. It works the opposite way. There we go. So what I don't want to do is actually paint over the hair. I want the hair beyond the boundary. So the boundary should just be a solid colour, and where you've got bits of hair sticking out, that should be beyond the marching ants. I need to do this here, this area, and that's a reasonable selection. But I'm going to undo that, which is Command or Control D, deselect. Instead, I'm going to let Photoshop do the job for me, and I'm going to click on this button up here, Select Subject. As a reminder, these buttons only appear when you start using these tools. So once you click on here, these buttons appear. Select Subject. Watch this. Wow. What a great selection. Far better than I could have done myself. Having selected Linda, I'm going to click on Select and Mask. Wow, how about that? That's good. So we're in a new dialog box here with more controls. And what's happened is that we're looking at Linda with her cutout from the background, and the background that we selected, which was the sunset, being displayed beneath her. So you've got her picture on top of the other one. Quite often people don't do that. They might, for instance, want to look at what the picture's like on a black background or on a white background. Ugh. Or on a red background. Red's quite popular because it's neither black nor white, and it kind of shows variations of tones more easily in many respects. But because I had this one selected on layers, this is showing the picture of Linda cut out against the layers beneath her as I'd already set them up. And that's amazing. I'm not going to do any more. Actually, I am. Up here, there's a refine hair button. Sometimes this does a good job on hair, takes it to a better level. Sometimes it actually screws it up. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that looks alright. Let's go with that. So the output should be to new layer with mask. I know we haven't done layers and masks. We will be, so don't worry if you don't follow this bit. Click OK. And there it is. There's a picture. There's the mask that's been created. And what we're seeing, the background, is this layer here. If I hide that layer and click on that one, see, it doesn't work with a bright background. It's got to be a dark background. So there we go. Cutting out your images against another background. Go away and play with that. I'm sure you're going to have loads of fun. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? And it's very easy to do. I suspect some of you will find that a little bit confusing because we haven't looked at layers and layer masks yet. But put it on a back burner, wait until we do, and then by the time we go through those two subjects, you can then perhaps return to this and play with it with a bit more confidence. So that was the end of day 9. Day 10 tomorrow, double figures. Exciting, very exciting. If you're watching this on the internet and not actually seeing this on the blog, then type in the blog address because you'll get access to all 30 days of Photoshop. So I am giving away 30 days of the introduction to Photoshop completely free of charge for those who go to my blog. And my blog is called phototeacher.blog. phototeacher.blog. If you want to find out about some of our training courses, so these aren't online ones, these are physical ones in classrooms or one-to-one teaching, then check out the website, which is gohsp.com. gohsp.com. Great. I hope you enjoyed that because I certainly enjoyed playing with it. It was great fun. Everyone likes cutting people out from backgrounds and putting them in different backgrounds and being silly and or creative. So have a go, and if you do have any good results, send me a copy of the image you take. I'd love to see it. And if we like it, we might just put it on the HSP Facebook page for everybody else to see. See you tomorrow. Bye.